Good Friday, December 20th. It's almost the longest night of the year. Speaking of long nights of the year, how about that for a segue? The Aeon and the Last Judgment. At least that's what I've titled today's little talk, because I'm going to share with you uh, a few words that Aleister Crowley has to say about the Aeon card. Okay. Now, this used to be called, as Crowley's going to point out here in just a second, uh, this card is sometimes called the Angel. Okay. So when you read especially older texts about the tarot, and they're talking about the trumps, there are other angels, of course, in the tarot trumps. There's like the Temperance angel and the Lover's angel. But when they refer to the angel, either in all caps or something like that, they're referring to the Judgment card or the Last Judgment card. And it's number 20. Okay. It's second to the last card, which is kind of neat. It's the second to the last card. Okay. And it shows a scene here from the book of the Revelation or Apocalypse, where the dead are rising, their corpses, zombies are being, their tombs are all open, and they're coming back to life at the sound of the angel's trumpet, and they're going to be taken up completely naked to stand in front of a kangaroo court and separated like goats and sheep and all of that stuff. But anyway, and supposedly they're making the signs of LVX, and the child there is making the sign of Apophis and Typhon. Now the woman is supposedly making the sign of Isis in mourning, and the man supposedly making the sign of Osiris risen. But the characters in the background are all seemingly making the sign of Apophis and Typhon. Okay. But anyway, and they're dead. Okay. And I think it's the angel Israfel, not Gabriel, but Cole Porter liked the sound of Gabriel better. Anyway, in the Thoth Tarot, which is the tarot of the new Aeon, okay, this card is obsolete, and Crowley will explain it in a second. And instead, it's replaced by the three Nuit there. There's a stylized Nuit and a stylized Hadith. And there's the Hebrew letter Sheen, okay, which is attributed to this card. And there's the two forms of Horus. There's the active Rahur Kuwait there, and the passive Haru or Hurpar Krat. And together, they are Haru Ra Ha. Okay. Now, when I designed Tarot of Ceremonial Magic, I just flat out said, no, I'm just going to give them a stele. Okay. It's just a stele because that's what it is. Okay. And you see those same characters more or less shown in the stele of revealing. So, with that as a preface, I'm going to read what Crowley has to say How about the Aeon card in the Book of Thoth? He says, in this card, it has been necessary to depart completely from the tradition of the cards. In other words, I'm going to depart from that in order to carry on that tradition. The old card is called the Angel, or the Last Judgment. It's represented an angel or a messenger blowing a trumpet, attached to which is a flag bearing the symbol of the Aeon of Osiris. Below him, graves were opening and the dead rising up. There are 3 of them. The central one has his hands raised with right angles at the elbows and shoulders, as if to represent the letter Sheen. And he might not be referring to this exact image here, which is the so-called Rider-Waite deck, but perhaps another classic tarot image, as to form the letter Sheen, which refers to fire. The card, therefore, represents the destruction of the world by fire. Okay, now if you're using the biblical traditions as your source of magic metaphors, okay, which is totally legitimate to do, you can use Star Wars as your source of spiritual metaphors, or Huckleberry Finn, or whatever. But for Western civilization and what Crowley was coming out of, the source of the metaphors were often biblical related. And after the flood, where a terrible, wrathful God got so pissed at humanity that he sent the flood to destroy all life, but somehow Noah made it through. And after God sobered up the next day, he said, "Oh God, I won't do that again." Okay, next time it'll be by fire. Okay, this is that fire that God promised when he said, "I won't do it with water anymore." But this card, therefore, represents the destruction of the world by fire. This was accomplished in the year of the Vulgar Era, 1904. Now, that's when Crowley received the Book of the Law. So that's sort of like day 0 of the Thelemic calendar. When the fiery god Horus took the place of the airy god Osiris in the east as Hierophant. Okay, and then he refers back to the Hierophant card. At the beginning, then, of this new Aeon, it is fit to exhibit the message of that angel who brought news of the new Aeon to Earth. This new card is thus of necessity an adaptation of the Stele of Revealing itself. Around the top of the card is the body of Nuit, the star goddess, who is the category of unlimited possibility. Her mate, Hadit, is the ubiquitous point of view. Got that? There's total expansion, total out there-ness, and any point of view inside that. Because that outwardness is infinite, so are the infinite points of view. every place is the center, and the circumference is everywhere. Actually, the circumference, the limit to that idea, is nowhere found. That's pretty big stuff. Every Masonic lodge has in the East a simple symbol of a circle with a dot in the middle. Got two vertical lines on either side. Okay. Her mate Hadith, the ubiquitous point of view, the only philosophical tenable conception of reality. He is represented by a globe of fire. Okay, do I have to, I'm going to point to it right there. By a globe of fire representing the eternal energy, winged, to show his power of going. As a result of the marriage of these two, the child Horus is born. He is, however, known under his special name, Haru-Ra-Ha. The double god. His extroverted form is Rahor-Kuit, and his passive or introverted form is Hurpar-Krat. That's the sort of invisible, bigger baby god with its finger in its mouth there, see? And he's sort of got that Yul Brynner haircut from the Ten Commandments, the Horus lock. See above the formula of the Tetragrammaton. He is also solar in character and is therefore shown forth in golden light. The whole of this symbolism is thoroughly explained in the Book of the Law. It should, by the way, be noted that his name, Haru, is identical with Hru. I invoke thee, Hru. Or I invoke the Iao, that thou wilt send Hru, the great angel that is set over the operation of this secret wisdom, to lay his hand invisibly upon these consecrated cards of art, that thereby we may obtain true knowledge of hidden things, to the glory of thine ineffable name. Amen. Hru. Hru is the great angel set over the tarot, just as Lon said. This new tarot may therefore be regarded as a series of illustrations to the Book of the Law. The doctrine of that book is everywhere implicit in the Thoth Tarot, in other words. At the bottom of the card, we see the letter Shin, itself in a form suggestive of a flower. The three yods are occupied by three human figures arising to partake in the essence of the new Aeon. You see them there? They sort of look like they're in an embryonic stage. Okay. Behind this letter is a symbolic representation of the sign of Libra. Okay, see that blue thing at the very bottom? Okay, I think he's suggesting that that is the sort of lump of the sign of Libra. This is the foreshadowing of the Aeon, which is to follow this present one. Now he says, presumably in 2,000 years. Quote, the fall of the great equinox, when Hrumachus shall arise and the double-wanded one assume my throne and place. Now in other places he attributes Hrumachus to Themis, the goddess of the justice card. Egyptian-wise, that's Ma'at. Okay, and otherwise he says presumably about 2,000 years, but Crowley in other places says it could be 100 years or 10,000 years. Okay, that time as we think of it is not quite the same, but he's saying roughly 2,000 years because about a 2,400 year cycle would match at least the astrological ages. So, okay, he says the present Aeon is too young to give a more definite representation of this future event. Now he's writing this in around 1940s and stuff, so we can look at the current world situation and say, well, gee, he's identifying that wrong. Well, think about when he's writing it as an observer of objective reality in 1940 something. So the present Aeon is too young to give a more definite representation of this future event. That's the age of Mot, or the age of Hrumacus. But in this connection, attention must be drawn to the figure of Ra-Hur-Kuit. That's that one, the one in the middle. I am the Lord of the double wand of power, the wand of the force of Kafnia. But my left hand is empty, for I have crushed an universe and naught remains. Okay, I'm going to digress for a second so we can see how he appears. His left hand, at least looking at the stele, his left hand is empty. I guess that's left in the stele, okay? You can argue, well, that's his right hand. Well, maybe so. But there is Ra-Hur-Kuit. There are many other details with regard to the Lord of the Aeon which should be studied in the Book of the Law. It is also very important to study very thoroughly and meditate upon this book in order to appreciate the spiritual, moral, and material events which have marked the catastrophic transition from the Aeon of Osiris. Okay, looking back from a person in 1940 something, going on under the assumption that the Aeon changed in 1904, look what you are observing with history. The world changed more since 1904 to 1940, or really till now, changed more in those just few years than it had changed in the last 50,000 years. I may be exaggerating a little bit. You can probably argue with me, well, maybe it was more like 10,000 years. Well, maybe it was. But look at how the conditions of technology, society, has changed between just 1904 and 1704, 1604, or even 1804. Airplanes in the sky, electricity, communication, invisible communication. Okay, I don't have to point out all the things. The time for the birth of an Aeon seems to be indicated by, get this, great concentration of political power, with the accompanying improvements in the means of travel and communication, with a general advance in philosophy and science, with the general need of consolidation in religious thought. May I say that again? in case you sneezed. The time for the birth of an Aeon seems to be indicated by a great concentration of political power, with the accompanying improvements in the means of travel and communication, with a general advance in philosophy and science, with a general need of consolidation of religious thought. It is very instructive to compare the events of the 500 years preceding and following the crisis of approximately 2,000 years ago with those of similar periods centered in 1904 of the old era. It is a thought far from comforting to the present generation that 500 years of dark ages are likely to be upon us. But if the analogy holds, that is the case. Fortunately, today we have brighter torches and more torch bearers. That is my December 27th sermon from the book of Thoth, and it definitely gives us something to think about here on the threshold of a new year and the threshold of many other major events that are likely to influence all of our lives. Anyway, tomorrow for Saturday morning cartoons, we'll try to light up a few of those torches and encourage a few more of those torch bearers. So until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.